You've been at this writing thing for a while. Maybe you've been doing it for years, and you haven't reached the level of success that you want to reach. You're like, what gives? Why am I not where I want to be by now? We see the highlight reels everywhere. Best-selling author debuts at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. $1 million book deals. So-and-so is being interviewed on The Late Show. We see this and we go, where am I going wrong? My guess is that you're someone who's worked really hard at this. You've been doing it for a while. Maybe you've published several books. You've gotten better as a writer. You feel confident in your writing skills. You have good reviews on your books, but maybe you're not where you want to be. Or maybe you've been submitting and trying to get a traditional publishing deal and it hasn't worked. Or maybe you've published several books, but you don't yet have the readership you want. Whatever your situation might be, there is this feeling that we come to as writers where we've been doing it for a while and it feels like we're not getting where we want to be. And that can feel really discouraging, and it can be a dangerous point in your career because you may be thinking, you know what? Enough is enough. I've been trying this for a long time. Why should I keep trying? It's not working. There must be some fault of mine, or maybe my writing just isn't the kind of writing that's ever going to go anywhere, and maybe I should turn my attention somewhere else. Having those kind of feelings is really normal. I've had them myself. I've gone through this kind of a period. I'm kind of thinking I probably will again sometime. I think it's a normal thing for us writers to go through. I'm going to talk about why it happens and what you can do to feel better about where you are right now. All right, so let's talk first about why this happens. And there are a few reasons. #1, we are trying to reach master status. And I think sometimes we forget this. We look at these other writers who are successful and we don't know how much time they've spent. We don't know how many years they've been at it. We just see that they're a success and maybe we haven't seen their climb to success. So we get this false feeling that all these other writers that haven't been at it for very long are doing so well and making so much money, etc., etc., etc. Oftentimes, these people that have reached the pinnacle of their careers are masters. They've become masters. There's a bunch of these writers giving master classes now because they have become masters. So what does it mean to become a master? It means that you have devoted umpteen years to your craft. You have practiced to get better at it, and you have continually come up with works that have proven that you are a master at your craft. If you look at the people who are well known in the writing world, most of them have many, many books behind them. We're not just talking 2 books, 3 books, 5 books. They have many, many books. And they are able to prove that they are masters through that bulk of work that they've produced. Many times they have also been around a long time. They have been doing it for a long time, and I'm speaking of decades, not 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, what can feel long to us when we're starting this writing journey. I remember when I was trying so hard to get my first traditional novel publishing contract, it seemed like forever, and in truth it was. I started writing around, late 90s, and I didn't get my first publishing contract until 2013. It was over a decade of learning how to write and getting feedback and going to workshops and entering contests and all these things to improve my writing enough that a publisher would be willing to take a chance on it. Of course, by that time, I still wasn't a master. Far from it. I still am far from being a master level writer. So what do I mean when I say master level writer? Well, the 1 is the bulk of work that you have behind you. The 2 is just the sheer amount of time that you've spent developing your skill and producing this work. And then 3 is the fact that you've gotten really experienced and wise about the whole writing thing. There's no replacement for experience, for just years of doing this thing and going through the disappointments and getting knocked down and getting back up and trying again and putting out another work and putting out another work and going through whatever feelings we go through depending on how that work is received. There's no substitute for that. If you think of a master in any other industry, think of a master piano player, the piano players that are famous, the ones who are performing at Carnegie Hall. These people are masters. They've been doing this forever and they're really, really at the top of their game. They know what they're doing. When we think of a master in any industry, we equate that with not only high level of knowledge, high level of skill, but sheer number of years of experience. So when we look at these other writers that are doing so well, most of the time we're looking at master writers. And we want to become master writers, but we have to realize the high bar that is. We have to realize how much time, effort, practice, and production of work that takes. So when we look at it that way, we can look at it a little bit more realistically and say, okay, I've only got 3 books on the market. I'm still a beginner. It may not feel that way to you. It may feel like, it took me many years to get 3 books on the market. But in truth, if you're comparing yourself to these other writers, these master writers, you're still just a beginner. You've got a long way to go. So if you think of it that way, you think, okay, it's not that I'm not a good writer. It's not that there's something wrong with how I'm approaching this. It's just that I need to keep going. I need to be at this for a little bit while longer. All these things that come into play with writing, and it's not only learning how to write a good story, and we're always learning how to do that better, right? That's one of the great things about writing. You're always learning how to do better. It's not only that, it's learning how to publish. How are you going to publish? You're going to traditionally publish, you're going to self-publish. And then when you get into doing that, you get better at whatever path you pursue, or perhaps at both paths if you're a hybrid like I am. How am I going to market? That is a whole nother thing you have to learn. How am I going to present myself to other people? How am I going to bring readers toward me? How am I going to grow my platform? All that stuff comes into play in becoming a master writer. Why is it taking so long to get where you want it to be? Because there's a lot to do. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to experience. So in this next section of the video, I want to give you a few milestones that will help you to see how far you've come and then where you need to go to reach this level of success that you want to reach. Milestone number 1. You have found your voice. This is complex. Let me just share my story with you. I thought I had found my voice after my first novel. It was an epic or high fantasy novel. I got a traditional publishing contract for that novel, but it didn't sell very well because I didn't have an author platform and the publisher was small and was unable to devote a lot of funds to pushing this book out. So the next book that I wrote, it ended up being a supernatural thriller. I thought I was going to be this epic fantasy writer, and here comes this supernatural thriller. Well, that book did better than the last one. I got a higher level publisher for it. It was a Forward Indies Award winner, and so I thought, oh, okay, supernatural thriller then must be my voice. The next book I wrote was also a supernatural thriller, got an even higher level publisher for that one, sold even more copies. So I thought, this is my lane. I found my voice. This is where I need to be. Then I go and write a historical fantasy. This book is the easiest of any that I've written to sell. If I go to some public event, book signing, craft show, something like that, this book sells. I have my other books out there. This historical fantasy book draws people in. I can talk about it really easily. I can sell people on it. They take it and take a copy home. I'm amazed at how much easier this book sells than my others have. My other stories did really well. People liked them. I got great reviews on them. People tell me about this book. Oh, you've really found your voice now. Okay, so now this book is becoming a series. Will I continue in historical fantasy? I'm loving it for right now. But it's interesting because I think as we go, we find more and more where we fit, where our niche is. Maybe you found that early. Maybe you know that you're a cozy mystery writer, or maybe you know you're a horror writer, and that's going really well for you. But if you haven't yet found that, and when I say you haven't yet found your voice, it's not just how you write or what your writing sounds like. It's what niche are you fitting into? It's a combination of your talent and your passion and ability to put together a story and what the market is looking for. This can sound confusing, and voice is confusing. I guess my point is, the more books you produce, the closer you get to finding where you fit. Not only what kind of writing really works for you on a personal level, on a creative level, but what kind of writing really works for you on the market. Let me give you an example. If any of you watch The Voice, it has been shown repeatedly, you can have a singer on there that's a really good singer, and they will try rhythm and blues, and then they'll try rock and roll, and they might try country, and they might try pop, and they do different things, trying to find where they need to go. And they have a good voice on all these songs. But inevitably, every time, the people that end up being like in the top 4, they will have a breakout song. They'll have one song that suddenly everybody goes, oh wow, who the heck is this? That song blows up. Everybody's downloading it. Everybody starts following that musician. They get elevated in the standings. There's a song where everything turns for them because they find that place that is the combination of what they have to offer and what the market wants. where they really can trigger people to suddenly pay attention. As a writer, it takes time to find that place. And I guess my only advice would be keep producing books. Produce the next one, produce the next one, produce the next one. It's the only way to find what your true voice is and what your true place is, where you're going to find that marriage of what you do and what people love to see you do. As far as what is the milestone, when you start getting feedback, like what I'm getting now in my historical fantasy, that says, man, you really nailed it this time. I hope you're going to do more books like this. I think you've really found your voice. And you find that book easier to sell, perhaps, than your other books that you sold. Pay attention to that. That's a milestone. Milestone number 2, you start to feel more comfortable with how you're marketing yourself and your work. If you haven't even begun to market yourself and your work, then that's part of the reason why you haven't reached that master level yet, or haven't perhaps gotten as far as you want to go. I have learned, reluctantly, that marketing our work is equally as important as producing it. And I'm still learning how to do this. And I think the milestone you're looking for is when you start feeling comfortable with how you're marketing yourself, how you're sharing your work, how you're getting yourself out there into the world. At first, this feels really weird. I know it did to me. I had no idea what I was doing as far as how to share. What should I write about in my blogs? What should I put on social media? Where do I excel as far as what kind of marketing works for me? And again, the only way that you can get to this point is to experiment, to try different things, to try different social media platforms, see how they feel to you, to experiment with stuff, to not be afraid to put things out there and just see how they do. Try to adopt a scientific sort of mind where what you're doing is experimenting, and then you analyze the results. Okay, how did this go? Maybe I should try this. Okay, how did this go? And eventually, over time, you find things that work for you. I've now published 7 books, and the first couple, I don't even count where marketing is concerned, because I didn't do much marketing at all because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea how to build an author platform. The first 2 books were traditionally published, and I was thinking, oh, the publisher will take care of it. No, that's not how it works. I learned that later. With each book, I've gotten a little better. Okay, how do I market this? How do I talk about this? What do I need to do to get this out there? And eventually you learn what works for you. For me, for example, I have some book promotion sites now that I regularly use. I have places now that I use to help me to find reviewers. I have local events that I do. I have bookstores that I work with that sell my books. I do workshops and I do presentations and podcast interviews. These things I've learned how to do and how to reach out and get more of those appointments so that I can do them. And over time, they've become a part of my writing life. It's another part of becoming a master writer, is eventually getting yourself out there and talking about your work becomes a part of what you do. If you're not regularly producing some sort of content or connecting with people in some way, then you can't expect that people are going to know about your books. You can't expect that people are going to know you well enough to want to give your books a try. So the whole voice part of writing we talked about a minute ago, you have to find who you are as a writer and what works for you in terms of the works that you're producing. But on the other side of that, you have to find how to share your work, how to market your work, how to get yourself out there in a way that feels comfortable to you, that you can do repeatedly. Milestones on the marketing side is when you start building a readership, get more people on your email newsletter, and those people are turning around and reading and reviewing your books. Maybe you have a subscriber list now that you can call on to do early reviews for you when you launch a book. You have a resource there. That's a milestone. If people are coming and signing up for your newsletter, that's a milestone. If you have more occasions in your life when you are sharing your work, whether that be through your blog, your YouTube channel, your podcast interviews, your local events, that's another milestone. If you don't have those in your life yet, it's perfectly okay. I've been writing and publishing books for 10 years now. I'm still learning how to do this. I'm still growing. It takes years of time. On your road to being a master writer, try to remember to be nicer to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you're not at this certain place yet. Realize what you're asking yourself to do. This is a big ask. You're trying to become a master writer. That is a big deal. It's going to take you some time. It's going to take improving your skills. It's going to take a lot of experience. Enjoy the journey on your way there, because someday you're going to get there and you're going to be older and you're going to look back and say, shoot, I should have enjoyed that more, because actually when I look back on it now, it was really fun. It's easier, of course, in hindsight to say, you know, I made it, I got here, but I should have had more faith in myself and I should have enjoyed the journey. So that's my hope for you in this long rambling video, is that if you're not where you want to be yet, it's okay. Put this sign on your computer, Master Writer in the Making, and get back to work. I'll see you next time.